Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, devotees, for giving me the chance to serve today by speaking on this verse. Today, we'll be speaking on the verse Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, ninth verse, ninth chapter, 36th verse. This is the last verse as part of the Chaturshloki Bhagavatam, where we'll be discussing the aspect of Tadangam or Sadhana Bhakti. So let's start off with the prayers before we can just say it three times. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiraye Shinvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridayantasva Bhadrani Vidhunoti Suhrit Satam नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी मंत्रा श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय. So before we start, मुखं करोति वाचालं ओम वंदे ते गुरुं तत्कृपातमहं वंदे श्रीगुरुं. विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे. Hare Krishna. So before we start off, we'll discuss quickly about what is the Chaturshloki Bhagavatam. About 45 minutes, we'll go till 10:30. So as part of the Chaturshloki Bhagavatam, there were four topics that were discussed. First is Jnana. And in Jnana, we discussed that the Lord is the absolute truth, the source of all. And it describes the extent of Lord's existence. It means Lord's influence pervades everywhere. There is nothing in the world which is untouched or separate from the Lord. So that was the first verse, Jnana. In the second verse, Vigyan or realized knowledge was described. That means if we see anything which we think is of value in this world, but we think that is separate from the Lord, then that's an illusion. That is a definition of illusion or Maya. So we can essentially, if we find anything in this world which we see has any value, then we have to know that it is connected to the Lord. Everything is connected to the Lord, actually. Everything has some value and everything is connected to the Lord. If we think that something is not connected to the Lord, then that is an illusion. So that's the realized aspect of the Jnana which was being described. And then the third verse described Sarahasyam, which means Prema Bhakti, or the greatest secret. And the greatest secret, which as Nityavang Prabhu described in the last class, is pure devotional service, loving devotion to the Lord, or Prema Bhakti. Essentially, although the Lord is everywhere, although the Lord is in everything, still He is separate. He is still outside of everything. He exists as a person. And that person is actually the original source. So that aspect is the real secret, which although it is so open, but still it is a secret. So in his class, His Holiness Ramapad Swami Maharaj says that why is it Sarhasyam? It's an open book. Anybody can buy or anybody can hear, even for free. So why is it called an open secret? So it's not that kind of a secret which is kept in, enclosed locks like that. But it is an open secret in the sense that although it is available, it is seen in the book, but still, even if we hear it, even if we read it, actually that was interesting for me to exactly hear that from Maharaj. Even if we read, even if we hear, in fact, even if we practice, we still don't realize that. We still don't realize that. That means it remains a secret. So people know, yeah, God is there, but they're not realizing it. They're not acting based upon that. They really did realize it. So it is remaining a secret that the ultimate is that Supreme Person. Although he is outside, still he is within everything. See, although he is within everything, he is still outside, and to connect with him and to serve him is the real only purpose of your life and your life and your life and my life and everybody else's life. Because he is that one singular and all of us, this is the plural, all of us are there, and then he is there. So if we cannot see anything separate from him, everything is connected with him, and our only purpose is to connect with him. And that is the only thing which will give us what we are looking for. What are we looking for? Ecstasy, actually. So that will give us, that is composed of pure ecstasy. So, after describing that Sarhasyam, the fourth aspect is Tadangam, which means how do I achieve this goal of Prema Bhakti? How do I achieve that ultimate service, the ultimate connection to God? How do I do it? So that aspect will be covered in the fourth. So it's nice, the fourth Chaturshloki Bhagavatams, how it describes the Lord's existence everywhere. Nothing is separate from Him. He is, if the greatest secret is to achieve that goal of Prema Bhakti or loving connection to Him, and how do I achieve it is finally mentioned. Very nice. Huh? The four shlokas of Srimad Bhagavatam. So we'll go to 2936, which is this today's verse. So we'll just recite it together. एतावदेव जिज्ञास्यं तत्त्वजिज्ञासुनात्मनः अन्वयाव्यतिरेकाभ्यां यत् स्यात् सर्वत्र सर्वदा. Etavat, up to this, eva, certainly, jigyasyam is to be inquired, tattva, the absolute truth, jigyasuna, by the student, atmanaha, of the self, anvaya, directly, vyatirekabhyam, indirectly, yat, whatever, syat, it may be, sarvatra, in all space and time, sarvada, in all circumstances. Translation: a person who is searching after the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, must certainly search for it up to this, in all circumstances, in all space and time, and both directly and indirectly. So, it's interesting, you will see this word search coming up a couple of times in this particular verse. So that's why we decided. So here, well, okay. So I'll explain sort of the theme first. The Lord is my only and ultimate goal. Anything other than Him is just a mirage or an illusion, and it is my responsibility. I can't blame anyone to achieve this ultimate goal at any time. And how can I achieve it? By the simplest means, anytime, anywhere, directly or indirectly, I can achieve the supreme perfection of life. Anytime, anywhere. So we will. These are sort of the theme that we will cover. What is the goal? How I can achieve it? Where I can achieve it? From whom I can receive the knowledge, etc. So this word called search, if you see, has been mentioned a couple of times here. The means or the search for that absolute goal. So what I thought is, let's understand that the theme of the session today is the search. Okay, is search an important thing for people in this world today?
Google.
The biggest companies in the world are actually search companies, right?
There is a church of Google. People say Google is God.
Google Acharya.
Google is everywhere. Google was everything.
Yes.
Google responds to the prayers.
Yes.
Use the search request.
Yeah. And very instant too.
Omniscient.
A response very instantly gives you everything. It's called Google Acharya actually.
There is a website. Church of Google.
There you go. So search is the most important thing. Actually, it's pretty amazing how that website, I remember many years back in 98 or something, 98 or so, sitting in my office and somebody looked at Google the first time. And I was like, okay, what is this? And then some topic came up and this guy went on Google and he searched something. I'm like, wow, what a concept is that? That you think of something and you just search it and you got some info. And he was telling me at that time, this is a good website, this and that. Wow. So now you look at it, that one company with a single search thing is now becoming the greatest, one of the topmost software companies in this world. And software is probably in the top of all industries in the world. So you can see search is extremely important. So Bhagavatam in the Chaturshloki verse is talking about search. One who is, what did it say? A person who is searching after the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead. Because the goal was described, Prema Bhakti, in the previous. The Prema Bhakti, the goal of reaching the Supreme Lord, was described. Must certainly search for it up to this in all circumstances, all space and time, both directly and indirectly, in all cases. Just like we use Google all the time, all circumstances, all space and time, both directly and indirectly. So that's so we can see that the whole world is mesmerized by the search, and today we are going to talk about the real search. Okay, so I thought we'll cover very briefly a logical way of understanding this search of the absolute truth. This is not in this particular verse, but just a quick logical explanation. In fact, I'm thinking to do a short, quick seminar on this, but that can be a detailed seminar for newcomers. But this one is just a one-slide thing. So why is it logic? How is it even logical that this is the ultimate search? So if you actually think about it, we think we want to be happy. If I want to become happy, everybody understands we want to become happy. So we think that we can become happy, let's say, if I win a lottery and I become the owner of the entire city of Samamish, and I suddenly have billions of dollars, right? Right? I suddenly have billions of dollars. I have everything. I'm struggling to even save a few say, or $100,000 or something, a few $100,000 in my entire life, and here I have a few, billions of dollars, right? So it seems everybody becomes happy. But then if you come to know that you are the only person in that city of Samamish, and maybe you also become beautiful, and you become very powerful, and you become very famous, and everything, or you get all of those 6 opulences that we talk about. Okay, so let's say you get all of those things, but in the end you are said that you have to be alone in that city. Then what would anybody feel? Get broadband. Let's say you can't get that. You can't connect actually to anybody. Maybe you can send an asynchronous communication, but nothing synchronous. You're not going to get any response. How would you feel? Feel pretty miserable. Right? So this can be anyway detailed exercise, but I wanted to just quickly go through it. So in the interest of time. So relationships matter. We are always looking to connect with people. Otherwise, actually, it will be a complete nightmare. You will go crazy after a few days, a few months. You will be mad, actually. Anybody will be mad. So that means that's not what we need. We don't need the city. We don't need fame. We don't need power. We don't need any of these things. We only need a connection with somebody, a soul. That's what we need. We don't need any of these other. It's a mirage. It's a complete illusion. It's a total illusion. The whole world is running after what we really don't need. Yeah. So anyway, so what we need is relationship. But what kind of people do we want to be with? If you have to choose what kind of people you want to be with, what would you say? Say me in a minute. Tell me in a minute. What kind of person you want to be with? You want a relationship.
People with good consciousness.
People with God consciousness, okay.
Like-minded.
People who
Like-minded.
are happy and give happiness to others.
Yeah, people are happy, give happiness to others. They will, if they give happiness to me, if you see more logically that way, you will see people who are humble, kind, caring, loving. And if we do a proper seminar, I'm sure when we, and I've done that in device and heard from people, people say everybody wants to be with a person who is humble, who is kind, who is caring, who is understanding, who can, he understands what I am trying to do. He's always trying to help me. He's always with me. All of these things. So that's some people. But now keep extending those qualities. Would you be happy if you find somebody who is the greatest, who is having all these qualities and many more and in infinite quality? Would you be happy to live with such a person? You understand what I'm saying? If you know people who have had certain kind of qualities. Now keep extending that. And you would find that you extending that in the sense that would you feel happier if that person had more of humility or tolerance or understanding, etc., etc. You would feel better, right?
Unlimited.
Yes, unlimited. Do you want to be with such a person? Anybody, atheist person also will say, yes, I want to be with such a person. That is the search. We are all looking for that person only. Actually, eventually we are only looking for that person. That makes sense? So that is completely logical. It has nothing to do with any of the, so we can see Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita is completely logical. Completely logical. We have done these questions with multiple people and multiple times, and I just sort of brought it all together like this. So that is the person, and that is my ultimate search, and nothing else is going to satisfy me. So the ultimate search is for Him. Ultimate search is only for Him. Whatever you may search on Google, whatever you may find, you will never be satisfied unless you find Him. And if you find Him, everything else that you search, you can use it for Him. Or everything else that you search, if you use to finally search Him. That's it. This is the ultimate thing in life. So this is what is described in this one. Everything else is a mirage. It's an illusion. And that's how people, and Prabhupada in the purport says, that the whole world is looking for so many different ways of searching for what self-realization, searching for something true. But this verse is describing that is the ultimate goal. This is the ultimate goal of this whole thing. Okay? So, that, and when Prabhupada says, if you don't find that, then you try to look for that same happiness now if you don't find it in God, then you try to look for it in this world, in matter. And finally, he said, primarily, it's basically sense gratification. Then you try to look for the same thing in sense gratification by exploiting matter. Apareyam itosanyam prakritim vidhi me param jiva bhuta mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat. So it's trying to exploit the inferior material nature. It never satisfies us. It will never satisfy. So Prabhupada says in the purport that this is primarily coming from the desire, actually the sex desire. The sense gratification, but primarily it's the sex desire. It's the ultimate form of trying to exploit. So now he relates what is the advancement of contemporary society. So we think that so many people are advancing in so many great ways, right, in this world. But Prabhupada is very strong in this purport, and he says that every other advancement that you can think of, which is other than that for this search for God, other than that, every other advancement is a complete failure. It's completely nullified. It's compared to decorating a dead body. So every search on Google or everything else that we are doing is basically completely lifeless. It has no meaning. I mean, whatever we were doing before we came to Krishna consciousness actually had practically no meaning, except for the fact that, okay, maybe, we can use some of these things now and all that. But unless we came to this point, unless we added that one, it has no meaning. Actually, he is very strong in the purport. He says, It's a decoration of a dead body. So you can decorate all these dead bodies, but where is the life? There is no meaning to any of these things. Why? Because you are doing the whole thing, right? Like yesterday, I went to Starbucks, and this Indian guy is there, and he's Oracle, he's VP, he's like just 3 levels below Larry Ellison. He might be multi-billionaire. The thing, he's Indian, he has all of these wonderful, he's earned so much money, he's smart, everything. But in his, what's the value of all this? In his talk also, he's saying all kinds of nonsense words, you know. So informally, not in front of the customer, but
Bad word.
yeah, bad words and everything. So I was, and then we just had some conversation. I'm thinking, actually, very smart, where, he can use all of these talents for some right purpose, but he's not. So then what is the use of all this? And what is it? Because I don't know what's my goal. If I ask him, what do you think is the goal of life? It will be my philosophy. Either nothing or my philosophy, right? Like Prabhupada says in his classes, he said the whole problem, especially when he talks about Indians, is that now people are coming up with their philosophy and competing with Krishna. So Krishna has given a philosophy, Bhagavad Gita, but I want to come up with my own. So this is the problem. So I come up with my own. Either there is no purpose. That's very common, by the way. No purpose. Or I just, it's random. Everybody defines their own purpose. So there is no absolute purpose. Everybody defines their own. That's probably the most. So Prabhupada is saying all education that you get is burden of a beast, basically. It's a burden. It's called, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, the Jada Vidya. So, yeah, we have to do our duties, and that we will cover. So we have to do these things. I can't say it's a burden and not do my job. I will do my job nicely, right? But if I have to know that that's just a means for me to maintain myself, that's not the real thing in life. It's a means for me to maintain myself, do my duties nicely. So, and because then Prabhupada says that, why is that? Then he talks briefly about the mind, and he said the mind, which is absorbed in matter, just leads to material bondage. Actually, what is causing this for me to go from one body to another? What is causing it?
Desire.
Desire. Yes, that's my desire.
They're separate from Krishna.
Yes. But all of that is stored in the mind.
Yes.
That's the place. The mind is conditioned completely. So it has all of that now. And because of that, I go to another body, and I go to another body. And going to another body is nothing but material bondage. Birth, death, old age, disease, everything. And I keep struggling my entire life. In fact, the whole society of billions of people is struggling just with that. Coming up with so many different ways to try to patch it. But so the change should be, the mind should be absorbed in Vasudeva. When the mind is absorbed in Vasudeva, then it's freedom from great entanglement. But the people who are in just this advancement, their mind is not absorbed in Vasudeva, it's absorbed in only matter. And because it's absorbed in matter, you will continue in that bondage. So what is the use? It has no use, actually. It not just use, it actually contaminates you more and more. It's a vicious cycle. You get more and more conditioned. You keep going down and down and down and down. So now we'll talk about the how-to. So we know that we want to go for this ultimate search. Yeah. That's the ultimate search that we want to follow. Not in the modern education, modern contemporary society is not helping me. Actually, Prabhupada previously in the purports, he has, and many times, unless you are materially exhausted, you can't really reach that, because you still have hope that contemporary education is going to help you. If you still have that hope that is something real in that, it's truly, then you won't actually be able to make true progress in this direction. So first we have, that's why the words are very strong, to tell us that the faith should be really in the Shastra and Guru and Krishna and the others, and then we do the needful as part of our duties under their direction. So now once we know that that's where I want to go, what is the how to? That means from whom do I get the knowledge? From whom do I learn? Or from whom do I know that how do I do that search? Who can do that search? That means for whom. Okay. So I am saying from whom, for whom, can I do it or not? Okay. Can I do it or not? And if I can do it, then how do I do it? Using what do I do it, etc. When can I do? And where can I do? Does it make sense? So it's covering the verse, because if you see the verse, he talked about you search in all circumstances, like this, like that, when and where. So we are covering the entire gamut. Okay, you want to pursue the ultimate purpose in life, the ultimate goal in life, the ultimate search in life, the ultimate everything in life. Then how do I? Then these are the details of how I do it. So first is from. So obviously you know, right? That Arya?
Yeah, from who?
From Guru. So we understand from Guru. So Prabhupada in the purport says that if the book is there, the Shastra is there, right? Obviously we know Shastra. But it doesn't mean that somebody can just read the Shastra and become. That also we can understand logically. Just because I've read books, I don't become a doctor and I start operating on your heart, right? You run away from that. So you will. So that's not how it works, even in the material world. So then obviously it doesn't work in the spiritual world. In fact, that's something which is, as Harivilas Prabhu has always said, anything we want to explain spiritually, we can understand with contemporary example which people can relate to, and then we relate it to something which is there, and that is the way people can understand. So from whom? From the spiritual master. So you sit, you take a humble position, tad vidhi pranipadena pariprashnena sevaya, and then you inquire from the spiritual master and you serve that, right? And then, but who is that bona fide spiritual master? Is one who is in disciplic succession. So the interesting thing is, this Chaturshloki verse, who is telling whom?
Krishna Brahma.
Yeah. Yeah, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is telling to Lord Brahma, right? So now the knowledge has come from Supreme Personality of Godhead to Lord Brahma. So that means the way to get that knowledge is in that disciplic succession. Because Lord Brahma will tell to his disciple, or a similar disciplic succession like the other bona fide ones. So it's pretty logical. That's how Brahma, before he did his duty of creating the universe, he first asked why it should be created. What's the deal behind this whole thing? Right? He asked first. So even before we do anything in life, we should ask. We should inquire first. Otherwise, just do. Everybody is doing. I just do. So otherwise, we just do. No, we learn. But who do we learn from? Is just like Brahmaji learned from the Supreme Lord, I also learn from somebody in that disciplic succession. Again, it's the same. Like, you see that bigger picture macro. Now you should apply the same thing here, like that. So that's that. And who is the spiritual master? Prabhupada is saying the spiritual master is not the Lord himself. He's not the Lord himself, but he is a confidential representative of the Lord. He has the power of attorney, as Rampal Maharaj in one of the lectures he was saying. The Lord has given the book, and he's also given a power of attorney to some people. Okay, you have the power of attorney, you can learn. Yeah, and you learn from me. Now you can teach. The same thing. And the knowledge received by Lord Brahma directly from, so we can receive in the same. And then Prabhupada also makes an interesting point that Bhagavad Gita explains very clearly that what is the goal. Even the Bhagavad Gita, which is actually in a very short form, right? The whole thing is given in Bhagavad Gita very short form. Bhagavad Gita is explaining very clearly what is the real purpose of life, what is the goal, who we have to go to, everything very clearly. Yeah. But Why people are not getting it? Bhagavad Gita is explaining very clearly, but people are not understanding it. Although it's very famous also, at least people generally, even in the Western world, everybody knows what is the Bhagavad Gita, but they don't understand the real thing behind the Bhagavad Gita. Why? Because very, very amazing. Only one reason. Because the bona fide spiritual master. Bona fide spiritual master is not there to explain it to us. So that's why we learn it from the bona fide spiritual master. So now for, that means who is this? This ultimate search applies to whom? Who is it for? Right? So the answer is, who can do it? Everyone. Okay? Everyone. It applies to everyone. Nobody can say that devotional service doesn't apply to me, or this search for God or looking for God doesn't apply to me. Make sense? So it's for everybody. So, and that is the institution of Varnashram. Also, the institution of Varnashram is a scientific organization of the entire society. Scientific organization of the entire society in a way that everybody can finally serve and everybody can engage in this ultimate goal of life. Whether you are a child or a woman or a Kshatriya or a Shudra or a this or a that or a musician or this or that, whatever you might be, it doesn't matter. You can use your skills, you can do whatever you do in the service of Krishna. So that is a scientific organization of the entire society. So that's pretty amazing actually how, so to facilitate everyone to move towards the ultimate goal. That's called Daivi Varnashram. Nobody is excluded. You don't have to change what you are doing. You only have to purify what you are doing. Means you do what you are doing, but you do it for the right. So that's, we will come to this part. So, and Ropal Maharaj explained it, that's, in the verse it was direct and indirect, which was mentioned directly and indirectly. So directly means I am engaging in my Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. Indirectly means that whatever occupational duty also that I do, Varnashram, is for that purpose only. So indirectly you are working at Packard or you are working at Microsoft, whatever. I am working in so many other things we are doing, but that also is Tatanga. It may not be exactly directly that way. So now the question is, can I do it? It means, do I need any kind of qualification? So the answer is yes. Yes, we can do it. Everyone can participate. Lowest to the highest. Everybody. So this is, so there is a detail, so many verses, so many lectures are there on this and I heard a few of them. But essentially the power of Bhakti Yoga, just look at this whole thing that we are trying to pursue. Or all of us are trying to pursue. This thing applies to everybody. Nobody can say, Prabhu, I don't think I'm there yet. I can't do it. Nobody can actually say that way, that I can't do it. Even if you are completely dumb, you think, Prabhu, I never wrote ABCD in my whole life. I don't even know how to write. I don't know, I'm an illiterate person. I'm totally dumb. So I cannot do. No, you can still do. Or I am a PhD, you can hear. Or I am a PhD, I am like the greatest scholar.